Andy wrote a column. It's more a news story than a column, but any excuse to show that animation on all of your screens. Andy, what's cooking and what's the latest with the Mets and Taijuan Walker?
Control room wiseacres there. Yes, it was a newser, we call it in the newspaper business, but sure, we'll call it a column for the sake of the graphic. The reporting is that Taijuan Walker's emerged as the Mets' top free agent target. That's above anybody else. Jackie Bradley Jr., Trevor Rosenthal, Jake Odorizzi, all these names are still out in the market that the Mets have been linked to one way or the other. Mets have kind of circled back on some guys that they haven't shown interest in. Walker's one of those guys. No discussions between the Mets and Walker for months. But now there's a new landscape. Values have changed. Prices have changed a little bit. And I can tell you that although they don't have a deal, Walker's the guy that they're looking at right now. They're going to have some competition for him, including the Blue Jays. We've been down that road before with George Springer, but Walker's the guy the Mets want.
Let's focus the conversation around Lindor, though, Rex. So how much pause does his 2020 season give you when you're thinking about the idea of giving him like $250 million tomorrow?
None at all.
Okay.
And look, it's because he has enough of a sample size. His 17, 18, and 19 years consecutively were all very good. There's not a thing in those 3 years that he didn't do well. So when I look at that, and then I look at the fact that he's 27 years old, prime of his career, and then I look at the shortened season last year, okay, he didn't have a great year. Well, there were some other guys who were MVPs, MVP candidates, who didn't have great years last year. And that's okay. It's okay in a 60-game sample to not have your best stuff, especially when your routine, the way you talk to people, converse with your fellow hitters, your hitting coaches, everything gets thrown off. You're not sure how to handle it. Sometimes, yeah, some things can happen. And the best of the best can maybe not have their best 60 games, and that's okay. So I have no pause at all with Francisco Lindor.
Marly, you spoke to us last week about Lindor's character and gave great insight into his personality, his work ethic. How do you think he views the possibility of negotiating an extension during spring training?
I told you about how much he enjoys the big stage, and I think that is very important for Lindor, and staying in one place like New York City for that long period of time would be great for him. But I think what I'm really interested in, and I'm listening to everything that Andy is saying, is to see what happens with this crop of very talented Puerto Rican infielders, right? We're talking about 3 Puerto Rican infielders that are all about this extension, right? Carlos Correa with the Houston Astros, Javi Baez with the Chicago Cubs, and Francisco Lindor with the Mets. So it's going to be interesting what happens into a CBA year, and also with all this, like all the financial restraints that all the owners are having, whether these extension talks really are going to go anywhere.